Good morning. I'm back. It's Friday at more or less 10. So it's time as I try to adjust our little camera thing here in our not really studio, but it's just a workshop where we paint things. Okay, well, it still doesn't, it's still going to rotate weirdly, right? There's nothing to be done about it. There, how's that? So, yep, I was away for a while. And sorry for the very abrupt departure last Wednesday. I was moving along pretty well in the submarine. I got all those little chairs stuck in there, and the three tables that were left over, and I was about to put some walls up. Um, that would have been a bold step forward before I started to finish the galley. But what happened was that I was planning a trip across Lake Michigan on a ferry, and the wind picked up, and the ferry said, "No, we're not going to go because it's too rough." So I ended up having to drive instead, but because the drive is long and goes through Chicago, I had to leave early. So that's what happened. I've got notice that the ferry wasn't running, and so had to drive instead, and as a result, needed to finish early. So I apologize for that. I'm going to be leaving early again today. I have an appointment this afternoon. Nichole will be back doing street tiles again, and the yeah. Okay. I'm just looking at chat. It seems to have been connected, disconnected, reconnected. It looks like it's connected again. I don't have my um, large print version up, though. What's up with that? There it is. No, it's not going where I want it, so I'm just going to stick it here, which is better than not having it at all, I guess. Yep. Anyway, a little technical thing there. But yeah, so Nichole will be back working on street tiles again. Street tiles are pretty cool. They're a brand new thing for Dyson Dungeons. She probably told you about that. There are a lot of them. She's been working furiously while I was gone. Um, and those are so that we can have a street fight if there's a street fight, but also so that we can have streets between the buildings, and the buildings could be our dungeon tiles, it could be our tavern tiles, or our warehouse tiles or whatever. But those tiles are finished on both sides, both inside and outside. And if you've been watching our D&D stream at all, you'll have seen the battles inside. But it's also possible to set them up so that the street, runs down, and then there are buildings on either side. So it would be like being outside the buildings using the same tiles, which is pretty cool. And they're done the same way with magnets in the base. I'm looking on that side because that's where they're all stacked up. Yeah, they have magnets in the base, so they can be arranged really easily, just like any other of our tiles that we produce. So I am working on Testaxis. You wonder, what is a Testaxi? Well, if you had also been a viewer of our D&D campaign, you would know. Let me put these down so you can kind of see what they are here. You would know that the tabaxi is a cat-like creature. Okay. A cat-like character. We have a tabaxi bard in our group. And one day we invented a new game called Testaxis because they were cat figures, tabaxi figures that you stacked. And each person plays their own stack Okay, and whoever gets their stack the highest wins. And usually, we don't really have physical ones yet. We probably should. It's a great game. Anyway, yeah, we can, and these are stacked cats. And so I just said, well, I'm going to call them Tastaxies so that I can describe to you what that game is. So you get these tabaxi figures and you stack them up. And the parent, like with anything else, there's premium ones. There's like super holographic, limited edition Tastaxis. There are Tastaxis that are cheap Tastaxis because they have like magnets in them, or they're weighted differently, or maybe they're magically enhanced. You're not supposed to play with those, but if you've got a game, someone's going to cheat at it. But every once in a while, someone will play Tastaxis on our D&D stream. And I called these that because they are stacked cats. And that gave me a chance to describe the whole game. Well, I'm trying to remember what I did. Obviously, I finished the base coat on both of these guys. Okay. Very smartly dressed. Their hats, I think, came out nicely. And now I'm going to paint some brass buttons on the coats. And then put some eyes and mouths on the cats. And maybe try to do stripes. I'm not very good at that kind of thing, but, it's something to try. Yeah, so I'm going to get out a teeny brush and some brass. I was thinking of bronze, but bronze is pretty dark and you can't see it that well. So I think I'll use brass. And then I'm going to wash them, but I don't want to darken them too much. So the coats, because the coats are pretty lifeless otherwise. So I'm going to use like brown on this and blue on this, blue-gray, and see how those turn out. I don't know if I want to mess with the hats or not. But anyway, I've got teeny little stuff to do, and I'm going to do that when I finally get around to it. Yeah, it's Caddy Friday, and I will do a flip. Thanks for joining in. Great to be back. And so, I'll be back next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll be back to Submarine Wednesday and try to pick up where I left off. Starting to make some real progress there. I have no idea what this thing is. It looks like something that I think I flipped this before. I'm not going to flip it again. I mean, something I haven't flipped. There's a nail here, a little plastic tube, a piece of balsa wood here. Let me mark this. There's a green side. As you can tell, I'm procrastinating. I haven't painted in a week, and I'm supposed to be doing really tiny detail stuff today. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. There's a green side and a red side, and do this. We'll put X's here and O's here. And I got a four-sided flip, and let's see how it lands. X's. X's again. What's up with that? Green. 3. Let's do 6. O. Red. Wanted to make sure that every side had a chance to land face up. Red again. So we have 2 reds, 2 X's, a green, and an O. We'll keep that. That gives us, it's easy to flip. It doesn't bounce around too much. Yeah. So these cat faces remind me a lot of the little details on the submarine. necessarily a good reminder. Tiny little stuff. And here's this brush. I'm going to have to get another one of these. This one's starting to, the bristles are starting to disappear. And I'm going to need my head magnifier for this because I'm doing the buttons. I have to see the buttons. See if I can get these to focus for me here. There's quite a lot of buttons on this. Yeah. Yeah, and as usual, this looked a whole lot better. Without the magnifier. But it is what it is. Okay, well, let's do brass buttons. Hello, welcome. New followers are always very welcome. So thanks for joining in. I am about to paint brass buttons on some stacked cats. These little guys here. And oh no. Again. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be playing. Okay, well, we're going to have to do without the music this morning until technical assistance comes along. Thanks, who? That means I don't have to keep talking about stuff, right? So I'm putting on my head magnifiers because I'm painting tiny little dots of brass on these tiny little buttons on this coat. Fortunately, they're kind of raised up, which gives me a fighting chance of actually touching them with the brush without getting it on everything else. So we'll see how that goes. You go away for a week and somebody else takes over the workshop because it's obviously not a studio. If it were a studio, it would not be this rustic. So I was saying last Wednesday, I had to leave very abruptly because I was planning to take a ferry across Lake Michigan. And unless you live on or near the Great Lakes or have visited, you begin to say, a ferry across a lake, really? But Lake Michigan is actually one of the narrower Great Lakes, and it's 60 miles across. I mean, really, it's kind of like an inland sea. So we've had some visitors come from other places who had never seen the Great Lakes and took them to the shore, and they said, "Oh, you've got surf." Because the lakes are at their narrowest point 60 miles across. So I was going to take the ferry across because if you've seen pictures of the Great Lakes, the southern end of Lake Michigan, he curves around. And anyway, instead of having to go around the lake, I was going to go across the lake, but the wind picked up. And got a message from the ferry operators saying that they weren't going to go because the rough waves would have made the ride uncomfortable. It's not like they couldn't have, since they didn't. I think they didn't want to have to clean up this after the seasickness, right? You can't really blame them for that. They wouldn't do that. Anyway, so I ended up having to drive and dots for the buttons here. And the drive just takes a lot longer than going around the lake is longer than going across the lake, especially with road construction this time of the year. You know, so you're not moving at 65 or 70 miles an hour. You're moving at sometimes 5 in the construction zones, especially if there's a lot of trucks. Anyway, I had to leave early, and so I cut Submarine Wednesday short, just as I was making some real progress. So I have to see next week whether I can pick up and finish up or come really close to finishing up the mess and bunk decks, and then beginning the fun process of finding the pieces and prepping them for the control deck, which is the next area in the submarine. Anyway, just talking about the Great Lakes, they really are huge. So this ferry is a high-speed ferry. They actually brought it in from Europe, where they run ferries like across the English Channel all the time or up the coast of Norway. And it takes 2 hours to go across the lake. So it's moving at a pretty good clip, a little more than 2 hours. There's another ferry that runs north of the one it's going to take, and it is a national landmark. You seeing anything other than the top of my head? I don't know. When I'm bending over like this, trying to paint little dots, I can't see anything else. So yeah, the one that's further north is actually a National Historic Monument. It is by special permit because it's a historic national monument. I mean, the ferry really is. The whole ship is a national monument. It's like the last coal burning ferry in the country. And it was originally created by a railroad and it was designed to carry rail cars because it was a lot faster to take the rail cars across the lake by ferry than it was to go around the lake, especially because if you're going around the bottom of the lake, you're going through all of the huge switch yards in Chicago, which to this day is still kind of a bottleneck in rail transportation. I shouldn't call it a bottleneck. It's like it's just extremely busy because a lot of the rail traffic going from east to west goes through the switch yards in Chicago. Anyway, this thing was designed to carry rail cars. So it's got this huge bottom deck, and the railroad tracks are still in it. I mean, they couldn't take them. Hurting the infrastructure of the ship. And now it carries motor vehicles, including huge trucks. time we took it, and they were, I mean, these, oversized load trucks. There were two of them that had the trailer had, I think, 9 or 10 axles. Each axle on, two wheels and tires on each side. And then the tractor that pulled it had its typical 3 axles, and so there was this thing was huge, and somehow or other the driver was able to back up. They didn't pull forward into the ferry, they backed up into the ferry, swooped right in. It was incredibly impressive, and it really was. Okay, well, under certain lighting conditions, you can see the brass buttons. So I got those on. Anyway, yes, this is a National Historic Monument. The ship, they just repainted the interior of it, so it's all freshly painted. It looks really nice. It's not a cruise ship, it's a we carry railroad car ferry, but it's also set up for passengers. So, there's some lounges, there's a little cafeteria thing. They play bingo, keep people occupied. What am I going to do with these cat faces? I try the felt tip pen on them. We'll see how this goes. Kitty eyes here. We've got a green one. I wonder if that would work. The green eyes would look pretty good if I can make that work. I don't know why the music isn't playing. The program is running. This is just way too big. The point of it is way too big. So, maybe what I'll do is get some green paint. Let me try that. I like the green eye idea. So I got the ferry on the way home. I took the former railroad car ferry. Anyway, it's kind of fun. They show a movie. You can buy popcorn. They have a bar. That's always important. They can carry a lot of trucks and automobiles. Let's see what happens with this. The brass buttons were raised up, so that made it easier. These are inset. And go glowy green eyes. I'm going to make them a little bigger so you can kind of see them. So taking the ferry back was nice because it saved It's a little longer in total than driving. Two-thirds of the trip is just sitting around, and maybe even taking a little bit of a nap, which is hard to do when you're driving. It, you know, it's not hard to do. It's really easy to do. It's just really stupid to do it. Because if you're driving, you shouldn't be sleeping. Probably should have picked a darker green, but well, now we got glowy green eyes here. Can't really see them anyway. So anyway, it was fairly relaxing on the way back then. But, going back to what I was saying earlier, a lot of people don't realize just how really big the Great Lakes are. That at this narrowest point going east to west across Lake Michigan, um, it's 60 miles, which is, quite a distance. Paint the nose. The color I'd really like to use on the nose is this really dark red. I wonder if I can find it. This one. So I guess like 6 little noses to paint here. I'm spending a good deal of time putting minuscule dots of paint on these things. Taking a huge amount of time to do little minuscule dots of things. These probably won't even show up on screen if we ever run into during the D&D campaign. I'm not sure why in the world we would possibly run into Staxies. If we do, we have a figure for it. The other thing I want to do, it's another one of those, I want to do this, I don't know if I can, is paint stripes on them. Okay, now they've got these little mouths that should be highlighted. This one turned out pretty well. This one went way up on the forehead. I'm trying to remember what color I used. I think it was this neutral gray. I was going to shake it up. I need a tiny dot to cover up an eye that jumped up onto its forehead. Oh, is there even any paint left in here? I guess so. Looks like this has been used for street tiles. Yeah, most people don't know. You hear about the Great Lakes and you hear about how big they are, and you can see them on the map, and they look pretty big. But when you get on them and it takes, 2 hours on a high-speed ferry to go across one of the narrowest parts of the lake, you really start to get a sense of that. You spend 80% of the time of that ferry ride totally out of sight of land. So it doesn't feel like a lake. It feels like an ocean. And they can get pretty nasty too. You can get gale force winds, especially on the northern one, Lake Superior. Trying to decide what to do at the mouths. This is usually where I would try to do something with the wash to highlight them, but I'm not sure I even want to put too much wash on these cats. I do need to somehow or other put stripes on them. So let's see what I could do. Read the chat screen today. I need to make it a little bit bigger again. Hey, Bob HCN, thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. And welcome to Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. So in a couple of minutes, after I stop rambling about the Great Lakes, because I, live near one, I'll describe what I'm doing and why I'm calling these Tastaxes. But yeah, I'm going to do that before I start painting stripes on them. So in our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which is how Dice and Dungeons got started, Dice and Dungeons got started doing a D&D campaign and continues to this day. I ramble a lot because the music isn't playing and I need to fill in the time. Also because there isn't a whole lot going on in chat. So who tries? Who fills in on the chat as much as possible? Yeah, anyway. So I do ramble a lot, and it's kind of fun to do that because, when you get as old as I am, it's totally permissible to just do a stream of consciousness and wander from one thing to the next. And so I'm wandering away from talking about ferries that run on Lake Michigan to talking about Dice and Dungeons. So Dice and Dungeons started out and continues as a D&D campaign, which streams 3 Sundays a month, starting at 2 with a live chat. And you can also catch previous episodes on YouTube or listen to them as a podcast. And everybody is welcome to do that and really encouraged to do that because we are a really good and entertaining D&D campaign created by our dungeon mistress, Alexis. And we started making dungeon tiles on these 3D printers back here, and we painted them and decided to stream the painting as well because we were going to paint them anyway in this workshop, not a studio, obviously. And thought, it might be interesting for people to watch us prepare the stuff that we use on our stream. And so that's what we do here. So we paint a lot of dungeon tiles. Yeah, please do. It, there's a lot. Sometimes there's inside jokes and things. So, we refer to things that happened in previous episodes. Yes, we could make a sign. Actually, it should be one of those things that's up there permanently, like the Dyson Dungeons logo. Where can I point to it? There. Okay. We could put something right here, maybe above me, right? Well, then we cover up the shield that one of my son made once. but maybe right there, Dice and Dungeons there, right there, saying, this is not a studio. Mm-hmm. I could just point to it and say, that's why this looks like just a mess, because it is. This is just a mess. And on the mess, we paint dungeon tiles and minifigs. And these minifigs are stacked cats trying to pretend to be a humanoid. As you see that, that's why they're wearing this big long trench coat. But in the campaign, for some reason, because we just do these kinds of things, decided that there would be this game called Tastaxis. We have who actually plays a tabaxi bard, and tabaxis are cat-like humanoid-ish kind of creatures. And so tastaxis are tabaxi figures made out of, anything from precious metals to just clay, and you stack them. That's why they're tastaxis. I didn't make that up. I'm just reporting it. So you each player has 10 tastaxis, and they take turns stacking their own, and whoever gets it highest, the number of tabaxis stacked, wins. So I'm calling this Tastaxis because they are stacked cats, but also it gives me an opportunity to talk about the D&D campaign and how we made up a game which we occasionally, I don't play. My character is not very good at it, but Zoria and Nines do play Tastaxis and frequently win. So, yes, so that was my excuse for saying Tastaxis, even though these are not technically Tastaxis because they're just cats. There, that's why. That's part of my rambling. Anyway, you should catch our D&D campaign. It's really pretty cool. And as I said, it streams with a live chat Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I don't know. There's something that popped up on the screen, my screen, so I can kind of see what you see. Official Dice and Dungeons logo mug, which are also featured on our live stream because as players, we all have one. Yeah, so I painted. Wow, the time is really going slowly for me today. I bet it's going even slower for you, right? Our character levels, we just leveled up. We are now 7. Our DM is really quite mean. It has taken us more than a year to get to that level. Okay. We were actually level 1 characters, I think, for 5 months of solid once a week play before we got to level 2. In fact, I think most of us didn't really believe that we were allowed to level up. We had stopped believing in character levels. We were level 1 for so long that we dismissed character levels as a myth. But finally that was permitted. And the last time we actually leveled up pretty quickly, relatively speaking, compared to the pace at which we were going, because the DM said, I got really bored with you, and I want you to face even more difficult encounters, and unless your characters level up, you won't survive them. So I'm leveling you up so I can make your life more miserable. That was very thoughtful, I thought. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're moving along very slowly in terms of our levels. The Tabaxi Bard is actually one of our most important players. We have Zoria Ansul, who is a changeling druid, which is really cool because she's hardly ever herself. an entire, yeah, that happens, doesn't it? You play forever and ever. You go through all of these encounters. You just, it's like, yeah, DMs are they they take their godlike powers sometimes very seriously. Yeah, at level one, yeah, but our Tabaxi Bard saves our butt all the time with crowd control. Crowd control is really, really important. My character is a Furbog fighter, so I I do both DPS and tank. Basically, I just sort of stand there and people beat on me. Characters beat on me, and I strike back. Oftentimes, rolling 2 or 3. Uh, well, if you okay, so I ramble on this, but if you were to watch a couple of our campaigns, the DM has to be really, really careful not to show, we call them shinies, anything shiny, like just throws out a thing. Oh, this chef has a knife that produces ingredients, or a frying pan that heats itself, a magical frying pan. Why not, right? And so we'll spend the next 45 minutes trying to figure out how to get the frying pan away from the chef. Actually, I think it was a spatula. Oh yeah, there's a hat. You're passing by, and you see a hat in the window, and the next thing you know, it's in a magically locked store. Nines actually did this. This is in a magically locked store. We tried to get through the door all sorts of ways. We tried to batter it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we try to batter it. We try to go through it. We don't really have too much magic, but Nines, the Tabaxi Bard, has a teleportation cloak and decides that he really wants the hat, so teleports into the store. Well, it turns out that the door is locked from both directions. And so, yeah, had to wait until that spell reset. That was, sometimes these impetuous little things don't work very well. Or not being able to tell the difference between feet and meters or feet and yards, you know. So this thing can teleport, like something like 300 feet, but something is like 200 yards away. Well, that's more than 300 feet, but it's 200's less than 300. So, bing, right? The magic of numbers. Yes, we did. Oh, yeah, you made me use that. I have an opening, talisman of opening or something. I can't remember exactly what. Okay, well, when you get to be in my demographic, there's lots of things you can't remember. Like, I'm supposed to be painting, for example. Um, I remembered that. I did. So it has limited charges, chime of opening, right? So I chimed it and it worked. Now I need to, yeah. What I basically need is a large print version of my inventory all on one page that I can just prop up in front of me all the time. I'm going to try to be painting stripes on these cats. Probably a bad idea, but I'm going to give that. Anyway, I used the chime of opening, and it has limited charges. And when I got it, I didn't know how many it had. Like maybe it didn't have any, but it had at least one. And I don't know, nines might have made me use it up. But things like that happen. Oftentimes, it isn't so much the battles we get into that are most dangerous. It's the stupid things we do. So that should make it entertaining to anybody who's watching or listening, is, the stupid things we do. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of a cattail showing down under here. This little bit of a cattail is now getting little bits of stripes. Anyway, as I was saying, this isn't a real tastaxi, but stacked cats, so I'm calling it that because why not? It's a little bit of cat butt showing here. They have stripes, I guess. Faces here. There's no music playing, so I guess I have to keep chattering about something. But those of you who are joining here, catching it later on YouTube, please consider checking in our D&D campaign. Because it's really pretty fun. It's let's say PG rated. Occasionally a word will slip out, but I think it's like a PG-13 movie. You can have one, just one per episode, kind of. For the most part, yeah, it's a PG-13 kind of campaign. We have lots of fun. We eat well. There's a lot of food orientation. There's a lot of discussion of food and the pursuit of food. Sometimes there's cooking. I mean, not real cooking on the show, but the characters do cooking. These stripes are not really artistically done. Nichole is an actual authentic artist who does art things and is excellent at this kind of shading and detailing stuff. And I am not. So one thing, if you are joining, and maybe following along and catch us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from more or less 10 until more or less 2, is that we now have this thing called Submarine Wednesday, because I've been given permission to recreate my childhood and work on a 1960s vintage Renoir cutaway nuclear submarine. This was a kit that was issued in the 1960s. The first time I built it was in the 1960s. Well, these stripes aren't coming out all that well, but they're adding a little bit of interest to it, I think. Now, at least it's not messing it up. I'm building one, just like I did when I was in 7th or 8th grade, and the kit is actually, I have 3 kits because I had to get enough of them. I had to get enough kits to get enough parts that were not broken or started or badly painted or mangled in some way, because it's hard to find these older kits that are still in pristine condition. So I got 3 of these kits, and by combining them, I have been able to so far get one moving along pretty well. Doing it on Wednesdays. I get to work on the submarine on Wednesdays. The, the process of building it is going very slowly. The kits are this combination of incredible detail, some parts of the submarine model are just incredibly detailed, tiny little dials and gauges and stuff. But at the same time, very badly produced. That is, that there's just a lot of like flashing that needs to be filed off, or mold marks, or just touch up this mouth here with some gray paint. Yeah, too much black on the little kitty mouth here. But it doesn't, from a distance, it looks pretty decent. Maybe I'll just leave it. Like those. I like the kind of horizontal stripe there. I don't like the way these vertical ones came out. I might redo that. This is okay. Yeah, so Wednesdays, yeah, we have talked about doing a Dyson Dungeons cookbook. And we seriously have talked about that because making these black stripes go away. And after that dries, I will put like a little horizontal one like I did on the other side. Yeah, because there's a fair amount of food that goes on in Dyson Dungeons. Trying to not make these cats look like a disaster. This one isn't going well. Tried to paint some stripes on the top of its head. And it looks terrible. It just looks like it's got the pox or something. So I'm going to have to let that dry a little bit and then put some orange paint back on it and just cover it up. Oh, I forgot the. Okay. Glad I looked at that. I forgot about the tail and the feet. And how those should have stripes on as well. So on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, from more or less 10 until more or less 2, with a break in between, we do relaxing painting in this not studio, because the D&D campaign is done in a really good studio. I mean, it really is. There's great lighting, good microphones. The relaxing painting was not given over to such high production value. It was, yeah, we'll give you a microphone. I hope it's not in the way, and you can use this little ring camera thing, and that should be good. And that is so. That's why this is not a studio. It's just a place where we paint dungeon tiles and minifigs that we use on our stream. But it's also a place where I get to ramble about things like 1960s television and car ferries that cross Lake Michigan, because Lake Michigan is part of the Great Lakes, which are really are a huge inland sea. They can stir this up, but I'd not. I'm using this orange paint to cover up these black spots on the top of this cat that just makes it look like it's got some sort of fur condition. To keep remembering that the other one that had really ugly looking stripes on the right side of its face. Okay. I did a horizontal stripe that looks pretty decent there, but then I messed up on this side. Paint a little bit of a horizontal stripe here. There. Well, that gives the impression, at least, of being a stripe. Okay. Well, what I'm going to be doing is getting out some brown wash and doing a light wash on the coat with brown, just to so it doesn't look so monochromatic. I'm not going to. I don't want to put a lot on, so I'm going to try to be really careful and just sort of dry brush it on. And the coat will look a little bit ragged. And then I'm going to use a blue-gray wash on this one. And after I'm done with that, then I need to just paint the bases, these things, and get that done. So I'm going to be doing only half of the stream today. And Nichole will be coming on after the break. I'll probably be taking a break a little bit before noon, depending on how the rest of this goes. And then she'll be doing street tiles again, because there are a lot of street tiles that need to be done so that our characters on the D&D stream can walk along the street and we can have outdoor battles, not just indoor battles. Although during the next several episodes, we're going to be in sewers, so that will be indoors. Thank you for that, who I do a fair amount of complaining on this stream. At some point in your life, you're entitled to be able to complain about things. This brush, I wonder if this brush might work pretty well for the wash. Let's see. I'm going to start with the brown wash here on the tan coat and just see how it goes. Usually what happens is I get this far, and since I'm really not good at this is, relaxing painting, not a how-to show, because I'm pretty good at keeping within the lines. Okay, so I can do a base coat like this, and I can get the buttons on and do the collars and the cuffs and the half band. I can get that kind of detail done. My hand is still steady enough to be able to do that. But when it comes actually to artistic details like shading and washing, well, I just don't have the techniques that a real artist does. So all I really want to do with the wash on these is make the coats look a little bit worn, and to bring out some of the contours, like around the sleeves and things. So, well, I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. The nice thing about this is that if it turns out very badly, and it might, if it turns out badly, can always just repaint it. I'm trying to catch the shadow under the sleeve here, kind of. And then I want practically nothing on here. Just starting to do that. Yeah, there's a little. Okay, it's changing the color kind of decently, actually. I kind of like that. I'm just going to go around the whole thing this way. And kind of hope that as it dries, it tones down just a little. Mickey would say you should have dry brushed it. Well, and I would say I thought I was, but there was a lot more wash on the brush than I thought there was. Okay, well, you know, it's not quite what I was aiming for, but it's not too bad. It's giving some contours to it, you know. In the front. The color's better. That tan was a good color, but with the wash on it, I think it looks pretty good. Well, I'm going to call this a success, just because I feel like calling it a success. And I can't get it any better. So, there. So there's one to Staxi in a trench coat. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm actually going to get one of these things. This is a sticky tack thing, and I put it on here because when I paint the base, I need to be able to paint the edges, and I don't want to hold on to it like that. So this other one, I'm going to use a blue-gray wash, and I'm going to try to do the same thing, but you know, anyway, we'll see. We'll see how it looks. The pigment in this one settles out really fast. So it needs a good stirring. And the camera keeps rotating. Just sorry about that, but it just does. And I'm not sure. Every single stream, I say I need to do something about this, and then I don't because I do other things in between streams than fixing the camera. So let's put some of this on and see what happens. This isn't going to show quite as much. It's close to the color of the coat. Not going to change the color that much, but it's darker, and I wanted to like build up to just show some of the contours of the coat a little more. It puts like a little glaze on it and a little variation in the color, so it doesn't look quite so dry and lifeless. Get some, just some Padlet areas. Yeah, you have to get the music playing after break. I'll have to let someone who knows how to fix it get it started up again. It's very good music. It's very, very relaxing because it's relaxing painting. But apparently it didn't get started today. Sometimes these computers that this is running on and the software gets used for other things in between streams, and when that happens, then things don't work later. But I'm wondering if I've got some light gray wash that again wouldn't change the color very much, but might work on like in between here just to give it a little bit more definition. I think I might try that too. I'm gonna let that set for just a little bit, and I'll try to get this out of here. And the other thing I'm going to try to do is I've got two of these, and I need one for the other one. The gray one. So I need to find it. In blue should be totally obvious about where it is. I probably should have looked for it before I started the stream instead of looking around here wondering where it might have gone. Whether there's something sticking on it somewhere. Okay, well, that's kind of annoying. I guess in the absence of being able to find it, I'll just have to get one done and then take that off and do the other one. Trying to avoid using a darker wash on this. I've got a dark gray, but I'm afraid it would just really muddle it up. Okay, the violin painting stream. That was a Rocky and Bullwinkle thing. Okay, talking about 60s cartoons, which we weren't. But I will. Get it out here. I'm going to use a visual aid. Yeah, okay. So Rocky and Bullwinkle, if you don't know what that is, look it up. One of the best cartoons ever. And sometimes, they had regular episodes, but sometimes they had little shorts that they did in between episodes. And so Bullwinkle, who is a moose, is talking with Boris Badenov, who is definitely not Russian. No. If I remember, this is in the 60s, right? So Boris Badenov, the name gives it away. He's the bad guy. He's always trying to sabotage the moose and the squirrel. You know, the nice thing about relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons is I start these things and you just never know where it's going to go. Well, I'll finish the story eventually. Anyway, in this particular short, Spadanoff is talking about we have to make sure there's not too much violence on the show. And Bullwinkle says, but I like violets. He says, you like violence? Because a lot of the explosions, and he sets off bombs and all sorts of things about, you know, violence. And because Bullwinkle said that he liked violets. But so Boris Badenoff finally says, is that why you like violence? And no, Bullwinkle says, no, I like violets because they smell so nice. So there was the violence violet pseudo pun of the day. Doesn't get any better than that on this stream. That was not a brag. It really doesn't get any better than that. Okay. So yeah, adding this little bit of gray, I think really it helps. I'm gonna put it up here on the collar too. I'm not washing the hats because the hats are so cool looking. What do you think? Okay. Well, the brown coat came out okay. You know, a little bit. I would prefer it to have been shaded better, but I'm not skilled enough to do that. I think this blue one came out all right. And so what I'm going to do now is clean this and find the paint that I use for the base. As I do the minifigs lately, I've done like more than a dozen or so. I've been painting the bases all the same color. And then, you know, I paint dungeon tiles for a week or two and then come back and paint minifigs and forget what color I painted them. But I wrote it down so that I have a memory aid, and it's this color. So I just need to find a brush that will allow me to do that. Use these two brushes, one to paint around the feet, you know, little detail kind of stuff, and then a larger brush to fill in. And I started using this other brush with this little angle detail brush, and this is kind of nice for that kind of thing. Anyway, yeah. So you got I like violets, and I got off onto that because who used the word violent, and I had violet. And it wouldn't be a typical or a standard stream of Dyson relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons unless there was at least a passing reference to 1960s cartoons. Anyway, I paint these things with this brown and then put a dark brown wash on it just to make it look a little less flat. And then the Tastaxi things will be done. So the thing I'm going to be working on next is maybe helping with the street tiles. Those will all need to be washed, and so I might just end up doing that next week. Or I have this, okay, and this can be painted, and that will take a while. I'm going to finish these and do this fairly slowly because I need to use up at least 20 minutes before it's time to take a break. Okay, I'm going to take my glasses off. I can't see close up with those trifocals. And although it's not the most delicate thing in the world, I don't want to get brown paint all over the tail and feet of these cats. No, I probably should. I'll put these head magnifiers back on again so I can see where the edges are. This has been a really good purchase. I discovered if you complain enough about something, there becomes a desire among the other members of Dyson Dungeons to shut me up. So I complained about not being able to see things very well close up. And one of the people who is a follower said, well, I'm not nearly as old as you, and I use these magnifiers. And I thought, okay, well, you can use them when you're not nearly as old as me. I suppose I can do that too. You know, I whined and complained a little bit more of not being able to see things close up, and the quality of the painting suffered a little bit. It's just not covering very well. Weird. Usually this paint covers nicely. Anyway, yeah, so one of the members of Dyson Dungeons bought me head magnifiers, and it's a really nice thing to have. Did this paint get thinned down or something? It's weird. It's just the way the brush works. Anyway, yeah, I don't need them for this. I'm painting the same base color that I used on all the other bases because I finally wrote it down so I could remember it. And then when it dries, I'll give it, I don't even need to let it dry all the way because I want the brown wash on there to make it look, you know, kind of irregular. So if the paint's still a little bit wet, it just helps that along. And since I only found one of these holder things, I'm going to have to take this off and let it dry while I do the base on the other one. And then, yeah, switch them out again. It's really weird. I don't know where it went. As I look around for it again, because I don't see it being used for anything else right now. But since this isn't a studio, it's actually just really very messy. Stuff gets used and then it doesn't get put away. It just sort of sits there because you might need it again right away. And anyway, if this were a how-to show, one of the pieces of advice that one might give on a how-to show from somebody who knows what they're doing would be keep your work area clean and neat. Always put your tools away so you know where to find them the next time you want them. You know, advice like that. And then one would follow the advice and would pull the camera back and show the very neat and orderly kind of thing where things got put away and always in their place so you could find them next time you wanted to use them and things like that. I'm not going to do that because that hasn't happened here. No, things don't get put away. You can't always find them when you want them next time. The stuff in the bottle cap was starting to get gummy. What I can do is I can say things like, those of you who are out here who are not really, haven't done a lot of this painting already. And I know a lot of people who kind of watch this do that. You can kind of watch this and be amused. One of the recurring themes, and there's, a lot of repetition, because I don't have that many things to talk about and I have to repeat them sometimes in order to have anything, is I need an oops button on the Stream Deck here so that I can reach over when something bad happens. Like, I, want to painting something, a touch up, and bringing the paintbrush up to the surface and it bounces into a place where I don't want it. I'm going to have to wipe that, wash that off a little more thoroughly with some alcohol. That brush holds a lot of paint. So an oops button would be a great feature because then I could reach over. The Stream Deck's way over there. So in order to push the oops button, I would have to reach over stuff, which, not ironically at all, would lead to me knocking something over. So there would be an additional oops on top of the oops. The effort to signal an oops would lead to an oops. Be like a NASCAR race or any kind of car race, yellows breed yellows. You have an accident and everybody comes into the pits and then jostling with each other, and then restart, their cars are all close together again, and then there's another accident, and that cycle of things. Anyway, I could have an oops leading to an oops kind of thing going on. But generally, at least once every stream, there is an oops moment. There sort of was one this time. The black stripes on the top of the cat there that I tried to do that didn't work out. That wasn't so much of it as an oops as just I tried something and it didn't work. But, you get the point. All right. Well, there's brown paint on the bases there. This dries pretty quickly, so this is almost dry. That was an oops moment. Okay, so I picked it up and I touched it right on the edge, right? That was clever. And then pulled the paint away with my finger. And it was like, there was absolutely no need at all to touch the base. It wasn't like I was testing to see if it was dry. It was just an out and out. oops. That could lead to another oops. It hasn't so far, is that you get paint on your finger and then touch an already painted surface and leave a blot. Now, if Nichole were doing these, she would take this, and even though the coat doesn't look too bad, I put two kinds of wash on it. She would use some of the darker gray, and because she knows what she's doing and how to dry brush and things, would do really nice shading on it. Just she would do an excellent job, but this is just going to have to do as it is. I almost did it again. That is to say, I almost grabbed it out by the base. What I really want to do is I want to take this guy off this and put this guy back on. I'm using the word guy generically here. These are, we don't know what these cats are. This is good. By dinking around like this and doing an oops and stuff, I've been able to use up some time. So I'm going to be taking a break a little before noon because I have an appointment this afternoon. I need to go to it. And Nichole will be coming back, and she will be doing street tiles, just like it says there on the what we're painting. We're painting Tastaxis and then street tiles. So she'll be coming down and doing street tiles. There's a lot of them. They need to be done so we can have street scenes. I'm hoping that we get out of the sewers alive. So far, there's reason to doubt that. Our first encounter was before we even got into the sewers. Wow, there's a lot of paint in this brush. Yeah, before we even got in the sewers, it was pretty bad. We met this creature unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. I mean, that was how it was put. And we told people about it. We had some body parts of it. I think we had a foot or something. And took it to the chief druid who had never seen anything like it before. So obviously it was bad. Anyway, the battle was, it was a real fight. And that was before we even got into the sewers. So, yeah, it's no doubt going to be painful. Anyway, if we succeed in getting out of the sewers, use this brown again. And I'm looking forward to getting out of the sewers. We'll probably have some battles in the street because these dungeon tiles are made for the stream, and if we're making street dungeon tiles, we're probably going to be doing something in the street. After I shook up the brown wash, I discovered I still have a huge puddle of brown wash here from I did this guy's coat, and I did not need any more. And I'm trying to make this look as blobby as possible. It kind of evens out as it dries, but if it starts out blobby, there's a chance it'll give it a little bit of texture after it dries. I'll put that one there. I'll put this one here. And do the same sort of thing. And it looks like I am going to need a little bit more. Yeah. What I was saying is Nichole will be coming on after the break. I'll be taking a break starting in about, I don't know, somewhere 5 to 10 minutes from now, depending on whether I want to get started on that other monster or not. So there we are. This is one sort of Tostaxi, stacked cats in a coat. And I'm holding it by the hat because that's wet on the bottom. And there's the other one. Okay. And they've got fancy hats. So I'm going to set those aside and let the brown wash dry without touching it. This brush cleans pretty well. Here are colors. So I could start on this guy. I could, for example, paint the inside of the mouth and do the tongue. And I think what I would do is I would paint the inside of the mouth that really dark black red color that I used for the noses that you can't even see on the cats. And then paint the tongue a brighter red, and then do a gray wash or something on the tongue, gray or brown. I could do that. It's got all sorts of spikes and things. So there's actually an example of this. I have some pictures of what this is supposed to end up looking like, wherever they are. Oh, way over there. It's just basically really dark. The whole thing is like browns and grays and slightly greenish browns. Just this mix of mottled kind of gloopy colors. I have to check to see what to do with these like tentacle-like things and the sucker thing on the end. Not quite sure. One thing I can, let me be right back here. I have to use up another 10 minutes. Show you some examples. This is how it's supposed to end up looking. So you can see that in this particular color scheme, it's like grays and browns and stuff. This one's more greenish. I could use the violet on the tongue, right? Yeah, the tongue actually looks pretty violet. Huh. That's interesting. And yeah, but basically it's like greens and browns and things like that. And the tongue looks to be pretty much purple. I'm glad I looked at this. I would have gotten it wrong. So I could do like the inside of the mouth, here, kind of this black red. And then maybe I would use that violet color that I pulled out to make, the Rocky and Bullwinkle kind of story come alive, right? I could use that on the tongue and then put a brown wash on it. And the teeth are sort of ivoryish with brown shading on them. Well, I'm going to save that for another day. If I get started on it, I'll probably mess it up, so I won't. But this thing is supposed to end up looking like this. That'll be a trick. We'll see how it goes. So, thanks for watching so far. This is Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Those of you who are watching, please consider becoming a follower. Followers are really a nice thing to have. When one is doing a stream, you can become a subscriber. And if you want to support Dice and Dungeons, you can go to patreon.com/diceanddungeons and become a patron. And if you become a patron, you get to do things like have exclusive access to our D&D session warm-ups. They're kind of improv sessions, and they tend to be a lot of fun. We have fun doing them, and it warms us up. And it would be much appreciated. Let your friends and relatives, acquaintances, and enemies know about this, and encourage them to join us on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, almost every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from more or less 10 until more or less 2 Eastern Daylight Time to watch Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons, where on Mondays and Fridays, we do dungeon tiles. Right now, a whole bunch of street tiles and minifigs, like these stacked cats, that we prepare for our D&D campaign. And maybe someday, maybe even making them available to people who enjoy having those kinds of things. They're very high quality and cool. And Submarine Wednesday, where I will continue to plug away very slowly at reconstructing a 1960s vintage Renwall cutaway nuclear submarine. As I try to get the parts to fit and get the paint on the right places, and then even harder, cementing them in place, because it's, complaining about 60-year-old products. That's what I'm doing, because those original kits were not very well molded. So I'm going to be taking a break. Probably resuming, I'm going to guess, around 12:15 or so, give or take, when Nichole will be back, and she will be working on doing street tiles, street dungeon tiles. So you all take a break, but do come back, because there will be more relaxing, if not exciting, at least relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. I will be back on Monday doing something. It looks like I might be doing gray wash on a whole lot of street tiles, which for me is very relaxing, because it doesn't require much more skill than putting a big brush into wash and spreading it on more or less evenly across the tiles to give them some life. So I'll be back on Monday doing that, or working on this guy, and Wednesday with the submarine. So stay tuned and come back about 12:15-ish, and Nichole will be taking over and doing street tiles.
Hi, welcome back. I am not Greg, but I am taking over for the second half. I'm sure he mentioned that he has some stuff to take care of. So I'm gonna be here working on these street tiles that I started, finishing them up. I got sort of a base coat on most of them here. So hopefully we'll be finishing them up today. Let's see. Oh, thanks. Yeah, they're just painted gray right now. We also have, if I get to it, we have these are the sidewalks. So they sit alongside the streets. So, what I need to do today to finish these up is first get a glove because it's a little messy. They're based on OpenForge. Their OpenForge is a dungeon tile maker, and these have been modified by us though. So the OpenForge design is a bit different, but we used it as a base and modified it in-house and then printed it. So yes and no. I need to clean up a piece or two because I noticed that after doing so many tiles, I did miss a couple spots. Like I forgot to do the edges on this one, stuff like that. So I'm gonna do some quick touch up. We're going to then get them all washed, and then we're gonna do some highlighting, some like dry brush highlighting to give them a more worn appearance. So I'll mix up my paint quick. There we go. And I'm just gonna try and be fairly quick. Just go through and make sure I hit. See where Greg's left the camera. Okay. Just anywhere it's a little thin, I'll just put a little tiny bit of paint on it quick. That should dry quick at least. And make sure I get all my sides painted. But the nice thing with these street tiles is they're all on the same system as all our other dungeon tiles, so they'll you can put like a tavern or something right up against them and have it all locked together. We magnetize all of our dungeon tiles. So just a little quick touch up before we jump into the wash. There's also a grate system. Yeah, I used to do it a lot more, but unlike Greg, I'm not retired, so I don't have quite as much spare time. I used to do more relaxing paintings, but it just got a little hard on my schedule. So, but sometimes I'll fill in when he has other things going on. All right. Yeah, some of these didn't coat quite as well, but I think that'll be just fine actually, because it'll give a little variation after they're washed. Like this is a little thinner here, but it'll actually sort of break it up. I'm sure they want you to do it, but you have the old 9 to 5 keeping you out of the workshop. Yeah. Well, and I think Greg enjoys doing it quite a bit, so it gives him an activity and all that. Okay, so that's all our big tiles. This last one here. So, and then another thing I'm gonna do quick, you can pop in, talk about early edition. He complains a lot, just in general, or about doing the stream. This has this section here I'm gonna paint black, and then I'm gonna repaint these grates, but it has these grates that go over their drains. I'm gonna paint them a little brighter metallic because it blends a little too much right now, and it's less realistic for them to be like more chrome-ish, but they'll pop better. So and I'm only gonna do the ones that need it. Just in general, old people things, like how they don't make shows like Rocky and You. I don't even know what a Rocky and You is. I'm also taking this opportunity to separate the tiles that need the grate painted on and the ones that don't. The wash that I'll use will cover some of this spotting and help create a textured effect, so I'm not too worried about a lot of it. The music's off. Hold on. There we go. That should have fixed it, hopefully. This is the one that really needs it because I completely missed the sides on it. Yeah. It's fairly simple fix, but it takes some explaining for the music. Okay. All of these are looking acceptable. Some painting on the edges. Alright, here we go. So what we're gonna do now is grab our black and paint in these spots where the gutters are going to sit so that they don't show through. This brush will work. And we're going to do this black. This is a NATO black, it's called. It's for military planes. Not that brush. Alright. So this will be fairly straightforward and simple doing these dungeon tiles. I guess they're not really even dungeon tiles, they're just streets, but like all the same system basically. Like that, so that we have a little dark. Why does an external hard drive need RGB? Is it a computer part? Because all computer parts are legally required to have RGB. This brush is actually a little smaller than I'd like. Again, for this sort of work, I'm gonna size up. Like this paint could be better mixed. I gave it a good shake on our machine, but it's a little separated. That's a little better. And this is just covering the area that will be visible between the bars of the grates. So they don't need to be perfect. Uh-oh. I want to know if you need external power, because that makes a big difference. Huh. Second. Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that they, like, that's like the most important part to show. Like I said, we're going quick on these. I'm really tired today too. Well, as you know, the area here is like, we haven't had rain in like a month. We're having like a bit of a drought, and it's coming at the same time all the pollen is, so the air quality has just been awful, pretty much non-stop for like a month. So what I'm gonna do next is repaint the our little grates quick with a brighter chromey color, like this one. So I have them all sitting on this little homemade alligator clip stand. This will be a very nice bright chrome, which isn't as realistic for a sewer grate, but it will show a lot better against the darker part of the street. Sometimes you don't always go for realism, you go for looks and visibility. I guess I really don't need to do the underside particularly. Now that I think about it, because it is getting glued onto a street tile. But, you know, these are... You're not really going to notice any one individual little imperfection here and there when it's all assembled as one big street system. So I can go fairly relaxed and easy on all this. If they're not perfectly coated, they're also drains. So if there's like some discoloration, it actually kind of makes sense. So just get that done quick. Yeah. And then we're gonna move on to the wash. I don't want to go overboard, so I'm probably not gonna use the black wash. I'll probably see if I can locate our dark gray. There it is. And I'm just gonna start with the tiles that are completely dry here, and then work my way around to the ones that have been touched up. And to do this effectively, because I am limited on space, I am going to grab one of our drying racks and just set it on this stool next to me, so I have a place to set them. Start with that and add more as needed. So this, I mostly just want to make sure I get it down into the cracks. It's going to make it fairly dark because this is on a dark gray. But that's okay because I'm going to after it dries, I will be putting it, giving it a dry brush highlight, basically. So basically like this. I might take a little extra and get some darker spots, just by like drooping it in like that. And this will lighten up a little as it dries, but overall it'll be a fairly dark tile. And then we're going to take some of the neutral gray and dry brush it over the high points to give it that sort of look of wear and tear. And where like carts and stuff might have worn down and shown some fresher stone. But what I really want is to fill in those cracks and crevices. Yeah, we're gonna go through this wash fairly quickly doing these, because there's a lot of surface area built into these street tiles. Since I'm going back over with a lighter color, I really don't need to worry. Like, I'm creating the lowest, darkest points right now, is what I'm doing, so. And the nice thing is the wash slides down into these thick cobblestone cracks. And so they'll end up being the darkest point, which is what you want. And I'm hitting the sides just to give it a consistency. Can you turn your drying rack into a frying rack? Yeah, I think they are oven safe, but they are currently covered in paint. But yes, that is a good Pokemon reference. Makes it spicy. That's exactly what ovens and frying does, is it makes it spicy. The wash is always messy, but I enjoy doing the wash on terrain because you're just slopping paint on it, and you don't really need to worry all that much. And then one final thing we might do, these pieces, they have a gutter running down the side, so we'll probably put a little, after everything else is done, we'll do a little brown wash, umber wash, running along the gutter, just to make it a little classy. I'm out of my wash, so I'll refill. Yeah. This is a little bit of a change of pace for me. I was just painting a final boss miniature, which required a lot of detail work, but I can't show you because of spoilers. If you watch our D&D show, I have to pretend I didn't paint it. I have to pretend I didn't see it. But that required a whole bunch of detail work, so now I'm jumping into a bunch of really, really simple, just get it covered sort of painting. Luckily these look pretty much dry, so we're gonna just keep going and get all of our rectangular roads done. I'm not particularly worried if the dark gray wash gets on the grate black because it's black. Alright. that drying rack's full. I'm gonna move it off to the side. Grab another one. And we're just gonna keep going. These tiles gobble through the paint because of how much surface area there is. The cobblestones are quite deep. They end up really soaking up the wash. But that'll be to our advantage because now this wash will be filling in these far down cracks and crevices. And then when we go back over with our highlight color on the tops of the stones, it will be easy to avoid hitting them. There's just this one and two more of the rectangular one, which is good. And then we have the big squares to do. And you can see really how any like lighter imperfection areas get really well covered by the wash. It's more about just having the base coat on when you're doing a wash like that, at least in this way. And this is why I wear a glove. It can be quite messy. Alright, we're going to move on to our big square tiles. I still have some room on my current drying rack, so we'll use that space. These are going to take quite a bit of washing. You can probably see that maybe if the glint is, there's like some darker spots forming, and that's something I want to promote rather than avoid. Breaking up the consistency of the paint is something that will really help it make it look more natural. All rocks look exactly alike. That's true. Every single rock is just the same rock, actually. What we should do is make one of these squares on one of these tiles removable so that you can put in a road mimic hidden inside the road. Road mimic, not rope. A rope mimic would be ridiculous. Where would its mouth even be on a rope? Okay, time to move that drying rack. see, we have 12 more to do. So we're coming along here. Get $100 5TB external or 138 terabyte. I mean, that's a pretty good price for the extra 3 terabytes. Only USB 3 on the 8 terabyte, but it's just removing videos. Yeah, so, you know, if it's a little slower, as long as you don't lose quality, I imagine it should be fine. It just takes slightly longer. Moving all my tiles up so they're more accessible. Yeah, Newegg has kind of slipped in recent years, I feel like, in its customer service quality and things like that. Yeah, why don't they show it? Like, the part where everything plugs in? Like, the front part on an external hard drive is honestly the least important section of it. So why is external power bad? Isn't it more stable if it has external? Or I guess because this is just for transferring. That's not quite so necessary. You're not doing long-term storage in them. Yeah. So, for the application used, it's more of a hindrance. And you're out of plugs on your desk-mounted outlet. Yeah. Yeah, that happens pretty quick. Move that drying rack off. And now the last 5. More important to get a dedicated power supply to USB hub, yeah. Yeah, USB hubs powered without internally are not good. You can plug like one thing into them, and then they're like done. At which point you go, why do I have a hub? Life is so hard, right? The powered USB hub doesn't fast charge. Okay. Whew, almost there with the wash. Now I'll see how the first ones we did are drying. We might be able to jump right into highlighting. I might wash the sidewalk tiles since I have the wash out right now. You know, might as well take care of that. When will we have enough tiles to a city block on our map? Honestly, probably about this many. This can at least do a major intersection, if not a full block. It depends. If we use stone and the timber wood, have intermixed types of buildings, we probably could get away with it. To like fantasy Starbucks. I'm grabbing our sidewalks. And we're going to give all our sidewalks a wash as well. We're not going to go quite as heavy on the sidewalks because presumably they get cleaned more often. But this will just add a bit of character to them. Get some variation. Maybe Starbucks can sponsor us to 3D print a Starbucks. I mean, they could. I'd be open to it, but I don't think they will. Every 30 seconds, Nines will talk about how he could use a coffee. I feel like that's something you would do free of charge. So all these tiles, as it dries, will lighten up. And I'm doing a fairly thin coat. So we'll see how it looks once it's all dry, but I think they'll look pretty nice. Makes them look less flat. When you just have the base coat on, it can have a very sort of flat look to it. Yeah, after I'm done, I'm probably gonna have some more coffee. Unsponsored coffee. I don't have any down here with me right now, so. I, I, I don't actually have anything to hydrate with. Gulp. Oh yeah, how are you coming along, Kit Kat? I know. That must be rough not having any, like, coffee or alcohol or anything. Exit times, yeah, I bet. Thought about ordering novelty water bottle like for hamster cages, but I didn't think you guys would install it. Probably not, no. Like a human-sized hamster water bottle. So this is what it's gonna look like a bit more when it's dry. You can see it still keeps it's less shiny because it's still wet, but it lightens up quite a bit as it dries when you compare it to unpainted. But unwashed, I guess. Yeah. So once the sidewalk tiles are washed, we should be dry enough on our street tiles to do the highlighting, the dry brush highlighting. They look like they're drying pretty quick. Probably because they're on drying racks. That's in the name. But these should look pretty nice when they're done. We'll have to make a big diorama once everything is finished. Have my assembly line of tiles here. Looking forward to finishing the washes. There's like just enough tiles that you get kind of bored of painting of like the wash after a while, and then or the base coat. Like there's just enough to push you slightly past when you're like, I'm kind of done too. I might break out my big bristle brush today for the the highlighting on the road tiles. I haven't had an opportunity to use it thus far. But our sidewalks are almost there. I mean, sort of. I have a huge pile. Just hidden off of the camera. But my first drying rack is full, so it's time to move that off. Here, you can see how they're going. And now, to finish off our other drying rack. And we will be done with wash for a little while. It's kind of funny. It's like in the winter you miss summer, and in the summer you miss winter. I was missing just doing simple washing, really basic, easy stuff, and now I'm kind of pining for the more complex detail work. Yeah, no. 13. 13. I mean, I guess I can't argue with that logic. At that, I mean, I don't think I could afford not to have a giant hamster bottle. I guess we could mount it from the ceiling? Unless it comes with a stand. Wait, you promised me human-sized hamster bottles, and now you're not even saying. Now you're saying they might not even exist. How could you do that to me? How could you promise me the world and then just yank it away like that? What a betrayal. Yeah, like, I want one scale. Like, I want one that's scaled to me as if I were a hamster. Like, I want one that would, like, be the height of this room. That's what I was promised. 34 ounces. That doesn't sound nearly big enough for it to be scale with me as a if I was a hamster. I need one at least that big. So I can hang it from the ceiling and be like, last two. And then we're done with wash. Fortunately, I have just enough to not finish in the... Hey. Washing is done. Glad I wore a glove. Drop that in the water. That glove is done for now. And we're gonna check how dry our streets are. Our street tiles here have been drying. I think they're slightly tacky still, so I don't really want to jump in on having doing the highlight yet. That could just pull paint off. What I'm going to do in the meantime, these guys should be dry. clearing the paint that adhered in between the bars quick. And then what I'm gonna do actually is get this last little bit where the claw was. Once I make sure they're all cleared. Or cleared enough. So these are just gonna be glued into our streets at the end after everything else is sort of done. And some of the paint that got wedged between those. Okay. So it'll be fairly clear to anyone who's like looking at these when they're done what it is. Just find our streets. Yeah, if they're dry enough, we will get them. I am getting the finishing off these little whatchamacallits sewer grates. Need like a drop or two here. And we're just gonna give these a little final coat, cover up the spot where the alligator clip was holding. Nothing too complicated here. And these are probably a little bright and shiny for what you would expect an actual sewer grate to be, but I want them to contrast with the street tiles. They're wet, so I'm just not handling them myself. Just using a toothpick to slide them up and over. Okay. Yeah, they're gleaming sewer grates. So with our street tiles here, as you can see, they're much darker and they have this sort of dark inconsistency that we want. They're slightly tacky still, but you know, for the sake of the show, I think I can probably do them. Oh yeah, I'm sure wizards do all sorts of weird magic shenanigans. So what I'm gonna need is our neutral gray. Our neutral gray is lighter than the base coat, and this is what we're going to have be our sort of highlight color. And then I'm going to, I think, use our big, giant scenery brush here. You can see it's very bristly and big. And this is going to be what we use to create sort of the highlights on the streets, on the road tiles. Yes, it's a big brush. We're going to set this guy aside because I think I'm done with it. And I'll need a paper towel to dab the excess paint off of. The key to this is going to be really not having much paint on the brush at all. So we're just going to be taking out of the cap rather than the bottle, so I might have to periodically reshake it. But to give you an idea of what we're going to do, I'm going to be lightly tapping just to get a little on, and I'm even going to dab a lot of that off. And then we're going to sort of lightly go across the top of the stone to create that sort of lighter mottled effect that makes it look a little more worn. And I can be fairly inconsistent with that, but so it gives you that little bit of light that you don't have on another tile. Just like that. Yeah, that's creating that little dimpled effect, that little worn stone look. And that's our goal. It's really pretty simple. Gonna give this a shake, get my cap a little more. And if I'm pretty light with my cap, I don't need to. Just glancing along the top, and it gives it a nice... It's a little too much, let me spread that out. A sort of worn stone look that we want. I think they're looking good. a little bit what I was afraid of. We're getting a little bit of the wash on the brush because it is not fully dried yet, and I would normally wait 2 hours before I do this, but I'm running a show here, so we're doing that slightly improperly. For the sake of entertainment. So you can start to see how we're getting this nice inconsistent wearing on the stone by doing this. Just being very light and quick with our brush. I don't want to dip this brush in the paint jar itself, because otherwise we would get a very soggy brush. Yeah. Yeah, this would be much better if I waited, but again, doing a show. But you can see, even with the still tacky wash, we're getting a fairly nice highlighting effect. You can see it takes quite a few layers to get to this sort of semi-realistic terrain. You know, we had the undercoat, a wash, and a highlight after a prime. So it can take a little bit to really get things. And then we'll probably also do a brown wash on the gutter here. It's a little hard to see, but these actually include a gutter down this side. Now you can actually use this technique too to like create where that might make some sense. Like if you want to put some tracks through the roads, where the carts go, for example. So I'm going to set all these back on the drying rack to continue their drying procedure. Get the rest of the rectangular ones here. And these are all ones with the grates in them. So you can see this will sit right in there like that. Said and done. Get a little more paint in our cap. You want to go through the grate? Well, you're tabaxi, so you could probably squeeze. Getting a nice little uneven wear and tear on each of these ones. I'm trying to not intentionally go into the little gray area. We are very well dressed for sewer spelunking. Sorry, is in a suit. I guess also send plate mail. And you're in your suit. We're these are high class sewers. So, get a little more of our neutral gray for this highlight. And then we'll do the big roads after these two. Oh, have a good lunch. It gives us a lot of texture and character, I think, doing this. Alright, so these big roads, I'm gonna tend to brush in the direction of the bricks. It won't matter too much, but it's gonna kind of give you the sense of travel. Paint. Luckily, this goes fairly quickly, as you can see. We're really sort of in the home stretch here. I'm gonna grab my next tray. Ooh, I know, they're not very exciting. But they're just streets, I mean, you can only make them so exciting. A little too much on that, I should have dabbed my brush. Alright. Paint there. Get a refill for this one. There we go. Not quite sure why I set this here. Alright, now I just need the paint. And we might finish off here with the brown wash and see what it all looks like together. And the last 3. Shouldn't be too much longer here. And then I'll wrap up for the day. Because I'm getting clumsy. Alright, there we go. So we're done with our big brush. Set that aside for now. Okay, close that up. We're gonna grab our rectangular ones here. These guys. And we're gonna poop up their gutters. So, I'm gonna use this guy, that'll be good. And we have some umber wash here. So, what I'm targeting, I pull one of these up, you can see, maybe you can, right along here is a gutter. It's a different, it's lower, and it has these 2 stones that kind of come together. So to sell that a little, we're just going to take some of our umber wash and run it down that line, like so. And it'll get a little discoloration, basically. Where dirt and various other filths have run down that gutter. It'll be fairly subtle. I'm trying to go fairly quick because I realize we're over our normal time here. And this isn't particularly complicated. Little addition. And I think I'll be able to be done with this. One of our gutter pieces. So we won't need to put the brown wash in that because it will have a grate. Okay, and that just leaves our other gutter tiles. Brown goop going on each of these. Make them look nice and gross and filthy. As you can see, there's a lot of steps to making a fairly innocuous street tile kind of pop and sell as a street. Okay, that is the last one. So, how we're gonna wrap up is I'm gonna assemble a little bit of what one of these might look like. So you would take one of these grates and say, slide it right in there. That'll get glued in. And we could have, say, a large road piece and then one of our regular road pieces. So this is a very large road, like that. And then we can line our sidewalks like so. And when we go through finishing, these will all get magnetized, so they'll click together. So here's like a street, a large street, right? And maybe we take out these large pieces if we want to have a smaller street. Shove all this together. Right? And then what we can do, I'm going to go grab some stuff. Then we take some of our other dungeons tiles. We have these town sets. And like line the street like so. And now you have sort of a building on the street. Like so. I'm positioning the camera in a funny way. But yeah. So that gives you an idea of the sort of things we can do with this street tile. You can build a whole town if you want like this. So that's I have to let all these dry, but we'll leave it at this and sort of come back to our regularly scheduled programming as we go forward here. Now that Greg's back, just setting my my drying trays off to the side before I hit one. So we'll sort of leave it at this. It's a very pretty, I think, little street. I think it came out pretty nicely, actually. They'll matte out a little as they dry, get a little less reflective. But yeah. So thanks for watching, everyone. And we will be back. Today's Friday, so we'll be back on Monday. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. Check out our... we're having some on and off shows because of all the holidays. We have Mother's Day, Father's Day, Memorial Day, everything like that. So that's been a little off and on, but I think we're back this week and at 2 p.m. Eastern here on Twitch with our D&D show. Otherwise, yeah. We have all the stuff on YouTube, and it really helps the show. So thank you for watching, everyone. We will see you on Monday. Bye.